Did you ever look back at your life and wonder, what am I doing here? Like, where those behaviors, those decisions came from? Like, I did that, but what made me think that? What made me do that? Or maybe you feel like you're moving through your life on autopilot. Because I did, and I will tell you why. Welcome back to None of the Above. You know, a lot of us grew up thinking our childhood was just normal. The ways we were raised were just how life was. As we get older, we start to realize that maybe our normal had way more impact than we thought it did. So imagine a child who grows up in a home where they are constantly told to achieve, to be the best, to never make mistakes, where they're constantly being compared to someone else. That's so much pressure, you know. To that child, success might start feeling like a matter of survival, and mistakes are terrifying for everyone, but for that child, I don't know. So as an adult, they might avoid any situations where they could possibly fail, maybe never reaching their potential, because they're so afraid to mess up, being afraid of so many things. Afraid to try, afraid to fail, afraid to being said no to, afraid of not being good enough, not being loved enough, not being enough. It's such a hard topic, but here's the mind-blowing part. And honestly, this is something people do not want to admit so much, that our childhood experiences, no matter how small they were, they shape our life massively. They impact how we deal with relationship, how we cope with stress, how we see ourselves. It's like our brain learned a set of rules based on what we saw growing up, and now it keeps playing by those rules even if they don't serve us anymore. I mean, think about this. If you grew up with parents who fought a lot or who weren't emotionally available, you might have learned early on that love equals instability. That's what I learned in my family. Fast forward to adulthood, and you might find yourself pushing people away, or on the flip side, being clingy to toxic relationship because they're just familiar. It's like this emotional blueprint that we didn't ask for, but we got it anyway. And to understand it is the first step to rewriting it. But I'm not here today to talk about my experience or to guess your experience. What I want to say, these experiences exist. If you want to see them or not, you might have had trauma in your childhood. Maybe not each and every one of you, but you might have experienced something traumatic, and you cannot just ignore this. So what you can do about this? Because thankfully, while we can't change our childhood, we can change how we deal with its effects. And I wanted to share a few steps of how we can deal with it. Step 1 is acknowledging your story. This one is big. So we have to acknowledge our story, even the parts that we do not want to believe in, and journaling can be amazing for this. Try writing down things like, what was my role in my family growing up? Or what beliefs did I pick up from my parents about love, success, or happiness? Acknowledging your story gives you the power to reshape it. It's like seeing the blueprint of that shaky foundation that we talked about, and as soon as you see the cracks, you can start fixing them. Step 2, change the patterns. Once you recognize the patterns, start changing them. If you notice a fear of abandonment, ask yourself, is there really a reason to be afraid? Remind yourself that the people in your life aren't those people who you had around you in your childhood. It sounds very simple, but our brains are creatures of habits. It takes really big effort, but it's worth it. Step 3, set boundaries and learn to say no. This one is so important, it's so crucial. The most people who have childhood trauma are people pleasers, most of us. And it's very sad because it makes our life so much harder. Setting boundaries is a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. So practice saying no. Start with something small. Say no to that extra task at work if you're already overloaded. Practice saying it kindly but firmly. Each no will be a reminder, first of all, to yourself that your needs are important too. They matter. Step 4. Develop self-compassion. Please remember, healing is a process. It's not a one-time thing that you're once and done. No, it won't be working like this. If you want that, it's not happening. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but it's just not happening. You need to work on yourself, like on your mindset, the same as on your muscles. You need to work on it. You need to put in the work every day. You're not going to undo years of conditioning overnight. When you slip up or fall into old patterns, don't punish yourself for it. You were taught that way. You spend most of your life, if not your whole life, living like that. So please be kind to yourself. Learn to unlearn. Self-compassion is like a glue to everything. When you're staying kind to yourself, you're more likely to stick to your good habits and all the other steps. Step 5. Seek support if you need it. I was very skeptical of psychologists and of psychological help when I was younger, and I know it might seem weird to some people. Some people are like, why is it weird? Psychological help is okay, like, because they've never went through the pain of like, is something wrong with me that I need psychological help? And it was hard for me to accept that yes, something was wrong and I needed help. I needed for someone to help me untangle all that stuff that was inside of me, and that is the first step. You won't get help if you won't let someone help you. If nothing changes, nothing changes. So reach out for help if you need to. Sometimes working on this whole thing, on the childhood, your life, your parents, you'll be disappointed. You'll be feeling tired. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming and it feel like it's too much, and it's totally okay. You can reach out for personal help, therapy, support groups, or even just talking to a friend can help you a lot sometimes. Of course, it's not a psychological help that you might need, but sometimes we don't have such resources to reach out for help to the specialist. So we might just use a friend there. I also want you to know that you are not alone in this. There are people who genuinely understand what you went through because they went through something similar. So please don't be afraid to reach out to anyone for help. Also, this is why I started this channel. Oh my gosh, I broke my anxiety ring talking about this topic. So I have this like circles. I have the balls that I just move when I'm anxious. I just touch them all the time, and here was another ball that was sticking and covering it up, and they just fell down and scattered over the floor. I will need to find them later. But okay, so you see, I'm very stressed because this is something I went through, and I'm still not done with this. I don't even know if you can be really done with it. You just need to understand it. You just need to let it go in some ways, but also learn your lesson for you not to be like that. And I think step 6 is something very, 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 the most important thing. If you take one thing from this whole speech, take this. Do not let your trauma create trauma for others. Do not take your trauma and be like, oh my gosh, I was treated that bad, so I can treat people like this because I didn't deserve that. Okay, you went through hell. I understand that. Do not be like people who hurt you. I know that hurt people, but it's not something we want to live by. So if you are here, you definitely want to deal with it. And deal with it the right way. So this is not the right way. You cannot scar people around you just because you were hurt one day. In order for you to live happy and fulfilling life, you need to unlearn the lessons that you were forced to learn as a child. You are not your trauma. You are none of the above. To uncover your true self, you need to look through all those steps and follow them as much as you can, and learn every day something about yourself. Learn every day how to be there, how to be present, how to love your life, how to enjoy everything you have, because that will help you stay grounded. Okay, so yeah, our childhoods might have fucked us up a little, or maybe a lot, but the incredible thing is that we have the power to turn those experiences into fuel and grow. Those cracks in the foundation, they don't have to break us. Instead, they can be openings for light and growth to come through, and we will cover and close them up as soon as you take that light and growth, as soon as you accept it, that you can fix anything, that you need to uncover yourself first. You can close those cracks and build different, stronger foundation out of it. By looking at where we came from and understanding our patterns and doing the work to heal, we can build a life that is authentic, true, that is fulfilling, that can let us be who we really are, not who we learned to be or who we were taught to be. And in that way, our childhood will stop being the weight we were carrying for our whole life and will start becoming just a part of our story, one that made us who we are but doesn't define who we will become. Thank you so much for watching or listening, and you are not alone in this. Just don't be what they say. Don't be your trauma, because you are none of the above. I love you all. Thank you so much again, and see you next time. Bye.